What's good, everybody, and welcome back to the Heavy Mind Podcast. I'm Teddy Osuna, and this podcast is going to be a solo one. And I'm pretty sure the next few ones are going to be solo ones. I kind of want to just get into a flow of me just talking to the camera and speaking about my journey and how everything has been going. And because I did start this Heavy Mind Podcast, it has to do with a lot of my mindset and a lot of the things that I changed along the way. And I kind of just want to get into that as well. I want to get more guests on here as much as possible, but unfortunately, it's just hard to get people on here. Schedules vary for everybody, and it's not always that simple. So for the foreseeable future, it's going to be a few episodes where I'm solo, and if I can get more people on, great. If I can't, it's all good. I still want to do this podcasting. I love podcasting. I've been podcasting for so many years. And just get right into it. And I kind of just have notes that on here because my mind just kind of goes all over the place. And this one in particular is I want to outline kind of the moment that I knew I had to change. The version of me back when I was overweight, I was really disconnected, stuck in a loop of a lot of self-sabotage and, by all means, every excuse in the book that you could possibly think of. I definitely wasn't just avoiding the gym. I was avoiding responsibilities. I was avoiding everything that I felt deep down in my core had to change, but I was too afraid to make those changes because I thought that for me to be the better version of myself, I had to, completely take everything and erase it out of my life. And it definitely has a lot to do with that, but I realized that taking minor steps in that direction make the bigger picture actually stick. And that's where I was afraid of making those little adjustments because I thought they had to be so grand to begin with, when in reality, they don't. You genuinely just need to start where you are, and those little bits and pieces that you can change along the way by far make the biggest, most drastic changes. So like I said, I just want to share that moment. Those moments where I had to, I knew everything had to change. I didn't know what I had in mind for a goal weight at the time, but definitely it was, a lot lower than what I was at. So that's just, kind of want to get into it. I just basically want to describe what my life was day to day before I had lost the weight, right? So I would wake up early, but I wouldn't do anything. I would just literally lay in bed and scroll on my phone for about 2 hours until I had to take the kids to school. So I would wake up around 6, maybe 5:30, whatever. And I just, in my head, I was like, all right, I'm up early enough. I can get things done. But in reality, I was just scrolling on my phone endlessly and aimlessly. And then I would have to take the kids to school. And once that came, I was like, all right, now it's time for me to get the day started. And when I would take them to school, we'd go get breakfast, but the breakfast that I would get them, genuinely had time to make them breakfast here at home. But in my mind, it was like, why would I do that when I can just go buy them something to eat? So we would stop at McDonald's, Burger King, wherever it was that was close by on the way to school to get them, their breakfast. And in turn, that would be my breakfast as well. And that's where I think a lot of us have that mind shift where it's like, we have to get the kids something to eat along the way. When in reality, it's no, you can get up early enough. And I know for everyone, it's completely different. I'm not going to sit here and say that everyone has to get up early and make their kids breakfast or whatever. I understand sometimes for certain families, for certain people, it's not possible. But even if you prepare something the night before or however it is that makes it easier for you, that can be a shift in not only you, but your family's lifestyle as well, because you don't want to just teach your kids that eating out is okay. Granted, sometimes when you're out as a family and there's no other option and you're kind of in a pinch and it's a one-off, okay, cool. But if you know you're going to be out and you know you're going to do something, prepare yourself, because if you're prepared, you won't fall off. And that's where a lot of people have that struggle where they say, I fell off because I wasn't ready, or I didn't know I was going to be out for that long. Trust me, I get that. It's really hard to stay on track when you're not prepared. But also, if that were to be the case, research what you can or can't eat wherever it is that you are. Let's say you go to a restaurant, right? You go out to a restaurant, and I just went on a whole tangent and I lost my train of thought. But either way, that's going to happen a lot on these solo podcasts because, again, I just kind of have all of these things that are in my mind jumbling. That's literally why I wrote things down. But so you go to a restaurant and someone switches up the restaurant, like, oh, we're going to go to this restaurant instead. On your way to that restaurant, you can search the menu of that place and see what it is you can or can't eat to stay on track. I know it's a lot more work on your end instead of just getting there and ordering the most simple thing. But if you really want to make a change, like, to make those changes, it comes with a sacrifice. It's not the most gratifying thing in the world in the short term. But in the long term, guess what? That's where everything changes for you in the long term. A lot of us are so used to instant gratification that we don't really care about delayed gratification. And one thing that I had to learn about was delayed gratification. I know now that if I say no to something that I want in the moment, later on, that thing that I said no to is going to be so much better because I waited for the bigger or better thing. A lot of us, unfortunately, don't have that patience. I was definitely one of those people where I wanted instant gratification. I wanted everything now. I wanted to drink. I wanted to do drugs. I wanted all of those things that kept me happy. I wanted them instantly because that's what I thought was the better part or the better thing for me, right? But as time went on, I realized, hey, delayed gratification actually feels better. And last year, when I saw myself do the bodybuilding show and that form of delayed gratification, knowing that I had put myself through everything that I put myself through to see where I got to that point was, in the moment, it didn't feel real. It didn't feel like something that I had accomplished. It felt like a dream. But now that I look back on it and look back at the photos and the videos and everything of those moments, that was something that I can never take back and no one can ever take away from me because I put the work in. I did everything I possibly could to get to that point. And that's what I want you guys to realize, that when you start these journeys or whatever journey you're on, because I started this weight loss journey, I would have to say maybe like 6 or 7 times, to be completely honest, before I even stuck. You're going to have bumps in the road. You're going to have things that aren't going to work out for you. Even for me, when I started this whole weight loss journey, not even 4 months, 4 weeks into the journey, I had to come to my own decision because the coach that I had hired as my trainer and just overall everything, he had a health scare. I haven't really spoken about it much on camera. There's people that I know in person that know this story, but he had a health emergency and he could no longer train me. And at that point, I was standing at a crossroads of, I knew this moment was going to come where something was going to test me. Because I had said to my wife, I said, hey, look, I have a feeling that something's going to happen. I'm doing so well, but every time I'm doing well, this is the moment in time where something will go wrong and I just fall off. And I think a week after I had said that, I got a call from my trainer's wife saying that he was in the hospital. He couldn't train me. He didn't really remember much, and he had amnesia. And all of these things that kind of felt like everything's against me, right? Everything that I wanted to do, everything that I wanted to accomplish was kind of just pushing me down into, you're not going to do it. It's going to be another one of those days where, or another one of those journeys where you give up, you're done. You tried it, it is what it is. But this time was different for me. It came to a point where I was standing in the kitchen behind where the camera is, and I was making my food, and I said, either I make my food or I eat what's already here, which is junk, a bunch of, I don't even remember what it was, but I know it wasn't good. And that's when I told myself, you have a decision. You've put this much effort into it. You're 15 pounds down since you started. Do you really want to fuck that up? And I looked within myself and I said, no, this time it has to be different. And that was the moment that literally everything changed for me because I put myself first. And that was the one of the first times that I had ever done it, because everything for me, I always thought I need to do something for everybody else, and it doesn't matter what I do for myself. Like, I need to do everything for everybody else, right? And that was the first time that I genuinely said, I have to do this for myself, because if not, I'm not going to be here long enough to see anything else. I was pre-diabetic. Well, I don't know how many pounds overweight. I'd have to say at least like 48 to 49% body fat. And like, let's be honest, that's not healthy whatsoever. And I'm short, so that add that into the mix. Come on, like, let's be real. And a lot of people in my family already have diabetes or have had diabetes in their lifestyle or lifespan. So I didn't want to be another one of those people in my life. And this is no shade, no disrespect towards anybody in my family. It's just I didn't want that for me. I had seen it just crush not just people in my family, but so many other people, that I didn't want to be like that. I didn't want to have to deal with that. So I made the decision. I was like, all right, cool, let's do this. So I prepped my meal, I ate it, and it didn't feel good in the moment. It felt like I was sacrificing something that was it. I felt like it was stupid and pointless to make that sacrifice. But now thinking back on it and realizing, holy crap, that one decision of putting yourself first is what changed so much in your life, right? Um, Not only did it just like change me, but it changed a lot of people's perspective around me. My son, my daughter, my son now, he's a teenager. You know, he still eats things that he wants to eat, and which is fine. And I try to tell him not to eat those things all the time. And I get it. He's still young. He's not gonna exactly listen to me word for word when I tell him things. But when I do make prep or when things like that, he'll eat my food that I've prepared in terms of like, all right, cool. At least kind of showing those like habits have kind of stuck around where they're learning something of value from me that when I was younger, I didn't learn about that. I didn't learn about, reading a nutrition label, how many calories were in a protein, how many calories are in a carb, how many calories are in fat. I didn't know any of that until literally last year. And that to me, when I think back on it, is mind blowing, because a lot of us don't really know that. Even though, yeah, you're taught how to read nutrition labels in school, but you're not really taught what is the proper way to eat. And yeah, I know there's, numerous ways of eating. There's a lot of things that you guys can eat to make you feel healthy. And that's something that, I made a video on this a few days ago, where it's like, you need to find what works for you to make you stay on track. Because all of these people can tell you all of these things, right? Like, you should go carnivore, you should go keto, you should go this, you should go vegan, paleo, all these different diets, right? But you don't know if those diets work for you, or if that person just did it and it worked for them, but your body composition is completely different, so it might not work for you. You have to try things that actually work, and they're not all going to work exactly right. So know that when you go into this, it's a trial and error type of thing. Some things are going to work, some things are not. You're going to gain weight, you're going to lose weight. That's just the name of the game. And don't focus so much on the number on the scale, as much focus more on the way you feel physically. I've had people tell me, hey, I don't see the number changing on the scale, but clothes are fitting a lot looser, clothes are fitting a lot better. Yeah, it's called body recomp. And some people, they don't understand it. We're so driven by the number on the scale that we don't realize that it's not the end all be all solution to being healthy. Now, I'm not saying that if you're 400 pounds and you're not losing weight, there's something that's, not going right. There's a lot of things that we need to take into consideration when you're doing those things. So those are just my 2 cents and kind of something that I wanted to get into. It's going to be all over the place, and I do apologize for that, but I have a lot of things that I wanted to get through. Um, so yeah, I definitely had like a breaking point before I hired my coach. Um, I was I was here at home. I went upstairs, and when I walked up the stairs, so in my house, you come in through the garage down here. You come up the flight of stairs that's here, and then you have to go up another flight of stairs to go up to my bedroom. I walked those flight of stairs, and I kneeled on the floor when I got upstairs because I couldn't breathe. It was so hard for me to go up 2 flights of stairs, and I was by myself. Nobody was home, and I in front of the bed, I just kneeled on the floor and I couldn't breathe. It was hard for me. I was like, holy crap, what is happening? There's no way this is happening. And I felt embarrassed because I thought, I'm healthy, doesn't matter. No, man. Going up the stairs and feeling like you're out of breath from 2 flights of stairs, just that to me was one of the worst things. And then I caught my breath. And then later that day, I stayed upstairs for the rest of the day. I was like, I'm not going back down there. I can't. Everyone came home. Whatever. I went to take a shower. I took my clothes off. And when I looked at myself in the mirror, uh, what I saw looking back at me wasn't what I envisioned for myself ever. I know there's a level of body dysmorphia and like all these things that are the way you perceive yourself, right? And in that moment, I looked at myself and I thought, that's not who you are. What have you done to yourself? Why did you let yourself get to this point? And it comes back to I was just hiding behind so many things. I like I said, I was drinking, I was doing drugs, getting high all the time, and I was just hiding from what the pain that I felt inside that I just didn't know how else to get it across, and I would just eat my emotions. And that's the moment when I looked at myself and I said, either you make a change, or again, you're not going to be here anymore. And the next day was when I saw an Instagram post from the coach, and he's like, "Hey, I'm taking on new clients if you want to, try to lose weight." And he was a bodybuilder, or I'm not sure what he had done a few shows or whatever, but I didn't reach out to him because I wanted to be a bodybuilder. It was more of like, this guy says he can help me lose weight. Let me try. So when I made that choice, I was like, all right. And I had told my wife, I was like, hey, look, I'm gonna do this. And what's really messed up, and I hate bringing this up, but it's something that within me, I know it was real and raw. And so she had joined a fitness challenge that she wanted to lose weight. And when she did, I gave her crap for it. I told her, why do you want to lose weight? Like, what's the point of trying to exercise if we're okay? There's no reason for us to lose weight. We don't need to. And I was still making the podcast where I was doing the food reviews. And she was a part of it with me. And I go, you just still be on the podcast. I want you on the podcast. Just eat with us, eat with us. And I would, in my mind, she was doing something that was putting the podcast in jeopardy, not realizing that she was doing something for her own health and well-being. And when I think back on it and how selfish I was asking her to not do that, I tell her I'm so sorry all the time. And she always said, hey, your mindset was at a different place. And it genuinely was at a different place at that time. I thought that being in front of the camera, eating all that food, drinking all the beer, doing all of those things is what made me a man, what made me who I was. And now when I think back on those moments in that time, I realize how stupid I was, and how big of a mistake it was. Instead of encouraging her and jumping alongside her, I kind of tried to throw her on the bus, under the bus, and tell her she was crazy. And that for me was one of the hardest things for me to live with. And now when I think back on it, I'm just like, dude, you were stupid. But I've moved past it, and I've, surpassed a lot of the things that I used to think about, that about myself back then. Like, I was genuinely like, I was lying to myself all the time, saying that I need to drink, need to eat all these burgers, I need to eat all this. I don't need those things. I never needed those things to be me. And me hiding behind those emotions and all of that stuff is kind of what led me to get so big, because I thought, it doesn't really matter. It was everyone loves you whether you're big or not. Like, yeah, they may love you, but at the end of the day, are you really gonna be here for a while? And the sad reality was, like, I'm not gonna be here for forever. So when that happened, and then when all that happened, right? And then I told my wife, I was like, hey, look, I hired a trainer. She's like, oh, okay, cool. Like, now you're on board. And when everything happened with the trainer and I couldn't do it, I did I did a lot of things on my own for about a year. And I plateaued for like a while. I kept losing weight steadily, but it wasn't to the level that when I got to last year, when I got on stage. I had spent, I generally think it was a year, probably 8 months. I don't know exactly, but all I do know is that there was a point in time where I was like, I have to do something where I just feel that I can make a change. Like, I can't just, I was busting my ass doing cardio. Like, I was running all the time and doing like 5Ks and 6Ks and things like that. And I just still felt really weak and sluggish. And I just felt like a potato. And I didn't feel like the weight was coming off the right way. So that's when I reached out to Carlos, and we kind of, put things into gear, and everything changed from there. And yeah, that was that moment. And then, so once all of that happened, when that time when I reached out to Carlos about, hey, I need to make a change, it was, I needed to make another commitment, because it wasn't me doing it by myself anymore. I hired out somebody, and it wasn't cheap. It it's something that I feel, looking back on the moment when I hired him, it was one of the biggest investments in not only myself but my life. The way my life has changed so drastically from the moment that everything kind of happened, I never imagined it. Everything that has happened since then has been a wild, wild ride. From starting training with him, to seeing my body turn into what it turned into last year, to becoming a trainer, to helping others lose weight. Like, that to me, I never fathomed the thought of, like, that would be a thing for me to do, right? I always thought, like, training, it seemed cringe, because I never wanted to be a part of it. I always thought it was lame, and people, like, were so self-involved and egotistical about it. But now I understand it. When you put in the work for yourself, you want to show that off. You want to tell people it's possible. It's a thing. It's a thing. It's a tangible thing. You can have the body you want if you work for it. But people, when I was at that point, they don't believe you, because it seems so far away. And in reality, it is far away. But that time that you're wasting not doing it, it can get you further along in the journey. But we always make these excuses that are like, I'll try again on Monday. No, man. Like I think back on every time that I said I'm gonna start on Monday, and shit, I even say those things now sometimes. I'm like, dude, what are you talking about? Just get back on your meal plan today. Last week I had 2 days where I didn't eat on plan. Like I don't even have a meal plan. I just ate something that I knew wasn't gonna sit well in my stomach. And when I did, I was like, ah, crap. I can genuinely feel my body just feel like shit afterwards because my body's not used to eating those things anymore. So what do? The next day, all right, stay on track. Stay on track. That's genuinely, and I don't have a strict meal plan right now. And there's nothing that I have to adhere to because I'm not in bodybuilding like prep mode at the moment. But I do want to maintain the physique that I have. I don't want to just gain all the weight back because I want to eat everything and anything. So that shift of your mindset of, okay, you're here now. How can you maintain that? It takes a while, and it's definitely a drastic difference in what you think and how you think. It easily can switch to I'm gonna just binge and eat anything and everything and not have any consequences. And in reality, I've wanted to go down that road, but I have to stop myself because I don't like myself on the other side of that. I never want to get to being that big again. And I have the constant reminder because I have the loose skin. And even though I may not, it may not seem like it, I can feel it. I can look down and I see the loose skin from when my stomach was so big and, you know, my man boobs and everything. But it is what it is. So that's just that I want to get across. And yeah. So all in all, I just wanted to get that out and kind of just tell you guys a little bit about my story, a little bit about the journey, and how you guys can better yourselves because it's not a one way journey. When you start this journey, you're gonna affect a lot of people in your life that are close to you, uh, whether it be in a good or a bad way. I'm not 100% sure. More often than not, it's going to be in a good way because you can change your habits. And a lot of the times when you start changing your habits, it's when you start feeling that pull of wanting to go, of people wanting you to go back to your old self because that's the person that they're used to. Now, a lot of the times people, when they talk to me or when they hear from me, it's like, dude, you've changed. Like, yeah, I know I'm not the same Teddy that I used to be. I don't drink anymore. I don't smoke weed. I don't do any type of drugs. I just, it's not within me. That's not what I want to get away from. I like being level-headed, clear-minded, and thinking right. And I felt like a lot of those things took away from who I was as a father, as a husband, and as a son. And I don't ever want to be that person again. So if you're starting this journey, understand that it'll happen within time, and it's not going to happen one day to the next. It's going to take years. Hopefully, it's going to take months, weeks, years. I'm not 100% sure how long it'll take for you, but I know for me, it took 3 years to get to where I was like, holy crap, I've definitely changed. And yeah, I went to therapy. I've talked about it a lot. So even the first podcast that I had, that's with my therapist because he's helped me overcome so many things that I didn't realize that I had wrong with me. So if I can leave you guys with one thing or a few things is if you need therapy, don't be afraid to go looking for it. You'll definitely love yourself more for it. If you need help, look for it. Start the journey now. Don't wait for Monday. And yeah, it's the Heavy Mind Podcast. I'm Teddy Osuna. I genuinely hope you enjoyed. If you have any questions for me whatsoever, please make sure to reach out to me. I'm always looking to help as many people as I possibly can. See you guys on the next one.